Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama. I'm Justin Brady, and Fair Time is here, or at least it's coming, and so we need to learn about new fair foods, and what better way to start doing that than with Gwen Page, the owner of Whatcha Smokin barbecue, which I got to start out. I like the name. It's fantastic.
Whatcha Smokin?
Whatcha Smokin? Do you ask people that when they come in and they mix up their order? Like, dude, whatcha smoking?
Oh yeah. No, we're pretty punny, so we have a lot of phrases. Put that in your pit and smoke it.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. Do you put lots of weed in the smoking then?
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's not okay.
Let's get the laws to update first, and then we'll start doing that. All right. So congratulations on hitting the top 3.
Thank you.
I want to talk about Iowa fair stories today on the show.
Okay.
And we're having a bunch of Iowa fair story heroes coming in the show today. Of course, you being the first one. And top 3. Right. Now, you last year, I think Whatcha Smokin was in the top 3 as well. What was that?
Yes. Yeah. Last year we made the top 3 in our inaugural year at the Iowa State Fair, and that was with our Iowa Twinkie. It's our take on a Texas Twinkie. So we use pulled pork instead of brisket, but we take a jalapeno and then we stuff it with pulled pork, cream cheese, corn, and ranch seasoning. And then we wrap that in bacon. While we're smoking it, we glaze it with our house-made sweet and sticky barbecue sauce. Once it comes off the smoker, then we drizzle it with everyone's favorite ranch and green onion.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of flavor, and it got us our spot in the top 3 last year.
Yeah. And didn't win though last year. Top 3 didn't quite. So you're hoping to win it this year because now you're in the top 3, and I don't want to spoil that. I mean, I'm sure some people have already know what it is, but what's your top 3 finalists this year?
Yes. So this year we made it with our Iowa Sm'Oak'ed Roll. Our pitmaster Paul Babberell came up with yet another dish. He did the Twinkie last year. This year's a take on Iowa. It's Iowa sushi. So no fish involved, but we take a pork tenderloin, we tenderize it, and then we fill it with jasmine rice, our smoked poblano queso, giddy up, which is a Texas taco sauce, kind of sweet and tangy. And then we roll that up, and then once it's smoked, we pull it off. We finish it with poblano ranch, more giddy up, smoked sesame seeds, and green onion. So again, a lot of flavor goes into it, but going back to the name, Whatcha Smokin? We just not only really nail it with just our dedication and quality with our brisket and our pulled pork, but we also think outside of the box and take everyone's favorite with the Iowa barbecue and take creative, fun spins on it.
Now, it's 80 out of 84, right? 84 submissions.
Yeah, it was a lot. I couldn't even
told you. Now, are some vendors? I mean, Iowa State Fair is huge. I often forget, even though I've been going since I've been a child, I often forget how huge it is. Out of 84, though, like I was like, there are 84 food vendors, or are some people submitting like 2 to 3 things?
On that list, there were multiple items because this year being our second year, we've also introduced some new items. We're going to have our Frito pie that everybody loves from the restaurant, but it's a walking Frito pie at the fairground. We also have our Up and Smoke snacks, which is our nachos at the restaurant. So those were on that list as well. But gosh, there are a lot of new vendors this year, our neighbors who are also in the top new 3. We have Win and Sarah's Kitchen, and then also Destination Grills. So you can come down, grab a beer at the Iowa Craft Beer Tent, and then ding, 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 hit Whatcha Smokin, Win and Sarah's, and Destination. We're all right next to each other.
Yeah, you're all a little happy family right there.
We are a happy family. Yeah, I've known the Siason family with Win and Sarah's for a long time, and their story is incredible and just great people. So we're really going to have a lot of fun. But no, it's incredible to see all the different new dishes. I just love seeing how each year, because the food obviously is one of my favorite things to do along with everything else at the fair. But they keep elevating their game. The Bubbly Bistro, they're doing a lot of signature cocktails. I was really pleased to see.
Wait, where's this?
Bubbly Bistro, I can't tell you exactly. I want to say they're...
And this is the fair, you mean? It's
this
just
is at the Iowa State Fair,
Bubbly
yeah.
Bistro, okay.
Bubbly Bistro, so they are, I believe, from Wisconsin, but they have Lehman's Pizza as well. But they were one of the semifinalists. There were 11 semifinalists at the top fair food tastings that all the media people came and tried everything. But Chef Grant Gillian, who was the Master Chef winner just recently from Altoona area, he was helping with that dish as well. So just to see that level of culinary talent. You also have JR's South Pork Ranch. So there's a lot of great food. So definitely come hungry to the fair this year.
Yeah, come hungry. Be honest. Come hungry every year. That place will destroy you.
Yes, it will.
So the fair has changed. And by the way, I'm going to ask you about some fair hacks because you're not a newbie. You've been at the fair,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you fair hacks. Obviously, we want people to go to Whatcha, Smokin'. We want them to get some barbecue. But I'm going to ask a little later, what are those top 3, maybe those top 2 fair hacks that that most Iowans don't know? We're going to get into that a little later. But it's interesting to me how the fair has carved out this kind of, I want to call it a new area down. I don't even know, what is that? Why am I getting directionally confused?
West of the
Right, it's
Jacobson.
the south part of the fair. That used to be kind of an inactive spot. And they've spread stuff out there. The craft beer tent's down there. Scott's going to be on the show later today.
Oh, fun.
And they've really activated all this new space. I don't know if you even know the story behind that, but how'd they pull that off? Because what was down there before? Why didn't I ever go down there?
Yeah, you're exactly right. It was kind of just an off
spot.
area. Yeah, no, once you had kind of hit the farm implements and kind of a little bit around that area, you just kind of knew there wasn't much going on. Iowa Craft Beer Tent is a huge draw. So people are coming down. They always have great music all the time. But there was a Tenderloin place and Quesadilla Junction, I think, is the other one. But that was about it for food. I always made a point to come down for the Tenderloins because those are pretty darn good. But no, they've really enhanced by not only bringing local vendors. So it really is, makes Iowa shine to just highlight people that are homegrown from Iowa. But then this year, they've also added more tables and chairs, and they've brought in 2 more entertainment groups. So they just continue to keep building that area. Apparently, I heard something about a high dive. We'll see.
Oh, really?
They've
had that before.
Yeah, they had
in the past.
They had the folks. I think it was at a different area, but they've had this trampoline group that we've always enjoyed watching all year. But the best part that I got to enjoy is watching our team because they were really dedicated. They wanted to get that shirt from the Iowa Craft Beer Tent where you tap a keg.
Yes.
So one night, we were just kind of buying beers, buying rounds. I think they might have had maybe over a dozen, but they got the shirt, and I've never seen such big smiles.
I'm going to totally talk to Scott about that because it's so funny how people get excited about the popping of the keg or tap, whatever they call it. So why Whatcha Smokin' isn't a fair joint? It's an actual restaurant.
Correct.
Right? But then you have a fair, presence. So why do local, G-Migs does this too. There's a lot of vendors who have permanent locations somewhere and then go into the fair. Why do you do that? Is it a marketing thing? Is it pretty good revenue, so it's hard to ignore? Is it just, what's the motivation behind, I want to get in the fair. I want to get a booth in the fair. Help me understand that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question because I do consider any kind of opportunity at the fair to be a very coveted opportunity that people really dream about.
Yeah, it really is.
Like you, I also have been going to the fair since I was a little girl. And my motivation, our team's motivation, honestly, was just to be a part of it. It's making a lot of people's dreams come true to go and be behind the scenes of something that you've grown up and enjoyed your entire life, and especially to see how it's continuing to grow and evolve. So that honestly was our motivation because then you're in the middle of it. It's a huge marketing opportunity. We learned last year, especially making the top 3, of how much media attention you get. We had a national news coming by our booth. Yeah.
Really?
And so it's
awesome.
It's quite impressive. And what I'm seeing, it's the same effect with my previous business where you have an item that really shines or people just get hooked on it. Our company mission is to create raving fans. And that's what we see. We saw people that came to our booth at the fair and then our team up at the restaurant, because we remained open at the restaurant. We even still catered 500 people on a Saturday on top of the fair and on top of the restaurant.
Cow.
Yeah, we're just the right amount of crazy.
Wow.
But we did it. I'm a part of an incredible team at Whatcha Smokin'. So yeah, our motivation was really just fulfilling a dream. And then once you're in the middle of it, you realize oh gosh, like what an incredible business opportunity. It's such a great community there too. I love getting to meet the fair volunteers that range from new interns to people that are in their 80s, but they just love it because again, they've grown up doing it. And the conversations that you can have and the things that people share, it's all about, I've loved our industry because it's about the people that you meet and the connections that you make. So
yeah, and it's wholesome, and it's Iowa's like biggest, longest going party, and it's super fun. How did you, because there's also a lot of mystique and mystery on how you get in, right? Because there's like we hear long waiting list. Some people wait years. Unless you have something unique, then you get kind of pushed to the first, you get pushed up in the line because the fair wants to keep like their offerings diverse. They want different offerings, to make it more fun for people. How was your experience getting into the fair? So if someone's like, I want to sell at the fair one day, how was that? Was it a year waiting list for you? Did you slide someone 100? How did you take someone out back and Tanya Harding their legs? How did you get in?
So it wasn't sliding them 100. It was sliding them one of our brisket sliders.
Really? So there was a payoff.
It was our brisket. I risked it for the brisket.
My word.
But no, we were invited. Chris Blocker, she's the Boone County Convention and Visitors Bureau representative. She's fabulous. And what we have at Whatcha Smokin in Luther, Iowa is fantastic because we're close to the ledges. We're close to Seven Oaks.
You're right.
We're close to the Iowa Arboretum. And so she invited us to this Iowa Legislators Showcase that was held at the Elwell Building on the fairgrounds. And we were kind of serving our brisket sliders and socializing and such. But at the end of the night, we had sliders left over. And I affectionately call myself a food pusher. And so I'm not going to let anyone, I'm going to go see who wants these. And I had the fair table over there. And I was asking them more about being on their preferred catering list because that's a growing part of our business, our catering program. And then they kind of gave me, go to the website and do this and just, formalities. And so I was going to do it, but I gave them some of the brisket sliders and then I walked back to our table and I turned around and I saw their reaction of when they ate the brisket slider for the first time. And it was a wow kind of, and the next thing you know, they actually called us. And
that is funny.
And this was in March, so we didn't have a whole lot of time. And then, so, they made it happen for us, though. Gunnar and James and Annie all came up to Whatcha Smokin', visited with us.
Now, these are the fair team.
James is the director of concessions, and then Gunnar.
He's their comms guy.
He's the coordinator. He's kind of the go-to do everything. And then Annie also helps them a lot with the marketing, but she oversees the cookie factory, the Barksdale.
Oh, that's funny.
So I've been fortunate to receive a behind the scenes cookie factory tour.
But word, delicious.
I know.
Delicious.
Just walking in there, the smell is intoxicating. It's that same effect that I get every morning walking into Whatcha Smokin', that smell of the pit. It's awesome.
Oh, my word.
Are you getting hungry?
Yeah, I am. I am getting hungry. So 2021, you took over Whatcha Smokin', right? So you didn't, or did you found it or did you take it over?
Nope. It was founded in June of 17 by Steve Perlowski.
2017.
2017.
Not 1817, just in case, Yeah, that was a dumb question on my head.
There you go. You're on it.
Luther, 2017. I know I'm a historian if you can't tell. 2017 in Luther. What was the motivation for taking that over?
So it's a cool story. The motivation, Tanya's husband, Ron Lappy, had a motorcycle shop. It was BFE Vintage Motorcycles. And they were housed in what is the main restaurant building. It's 403 Iowa Avenue, which is right there on Highway 17. It was formerly Luther Country Store, a gas station. You can hear all the stories when you meet the Luther locals, but he had outgrown that space for BFE. And so they built what is called our clubhouse, just right behind to the west of the restaurant. So he moved his restaurant or his motorcycle shop there. And then Tanya and Steve said, let's do a barbecue place.
Oh, interesting.
So Steve is the passion, the heart behind the pit. And so between the two of them, Tanya's just this business dynamo. But they sprayed BBQ on a piece of plywood and put it out on Highway 17. And just to see how the business has continued to grow, even during the pandemic, it continued to grow. It's just something that is incredible about the team of where when we see an opportunity or we see a challenge, we're solution based. You figure it out.
And so they got to a point where they started this thing, and then as does happen to many business owners, they're kind of a little tired of it. They want to hand it off, or is that kind of what happened? And then you took it over?
Yeah, they were just looking to take a new path, and it was quite phenomenal. I was kind of surprised of the why. But what was fascinating about this business that I had never seen from a restaurant perspective is that it was built upon systems, Toyota production systems, lean. We use the traction model with our leadership team to build ourselves rocks that we use each quarter to move the business forward. There's a 20% profit sharing model for our salaried leaders, along with a shared tip pool. So Tanya had this accounting brain, and all of these systems that she helped build have led to just running incredible numbers. And the best thing I loved about looking at this opportunity is everything is transparent. So using QuickBooks, we share the P&L, or I share the P&L with our leadership team because they're involved in making the decisions that drive the company. And then we operate on a pay for skills program where our team members can come and they see very transparent information on what you can earn. And the more you learn, the more you earn. So we've built a culture there where people are really driven to achieve because they're getting rewarded for it. And then we don't make mistakes. We see defects in our culture, but it's never about the person. It's about going back to our system and seeing how can we improve. So to look at restaurant from that perspective, I've just always been
it's very unique perspective for sure. The shared P&L is something, and having that kind of transparency is something you'd only really see in some of these very creative, innovative organizations, usually startups, and people who are able to maintain that startup culture as they grow. That's really only where you see that. But when people start to close it in and lose the transparency, that's usually when their growth stops.
Correct.
And so it's unusual to have that at a local restaurant. And so any restaurant owners listening to this, I know that a lot of people traditionally think like owning a restaurant, the margins are razor thin. It's almost impossible to make money. Is that mostly an operational issue? Like if you get your operational stuff and your business mind right and your accounting mind right, a restaurant can be quite profitable for everybody.
Yes, it definitely can be. And that was one cornerstone when I was touring the restaurant, that when talking with Tanya and Steve, they celebrate the simple things, the basic things. As long as you are taking care of your guests and you have your guests' best interests in every facet, from the food to the ambiance to just the environment that you're providing. And then you're taking care of your team. And then you know that you're putting out a quality product. If you just focus on those things, everything else kind of falls into place. And yes, you do have to have your numbers in the business mind, but I look at it as a restaurant just doesn't run on ownership. It runs on a team.
Right.
So we build our accountability chart from, like, I'm on the bottom. It's the people that are working with our guests that are the most important people. Yeah. And we want to make sure that we're taking care of them. But no, they can be, but you really got to watch your numbers. Things are so volatile in this industry, and they can change in an instant. But again, that's why I'm so blessed to be a part of an incredible team, because when we are dealt with these challenges, we handle it with grace and compassion, and we find a solution. Yeah, the team has a choice to make. And, do I serve the owner or do I serve the customer? And it's very hard to do both. Yeah. And so I always obviously I do business stuff in my full-time job. And I always say, the organizational chart is actually, some people, at least in the U.S., it's very much a pyramid. The owner, and then your VPs, maybe, then your directors, then your managers. In reality, that's an inverted chart where the owner's at the bottom serving the VPs and the VPs are serving the direct. It should be a resource kind of thing, but it's very hard for people to make that balance. I should also point out best in the food and wine, best barbecue. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about that. That's I don't know if everybody knows about Food and Wine magazine. That's pretty legit to get the nod. What was that award for, and how'd you get that? So that award, it was actually awarded to under the previous ownership. Wow, too. So that's cool. It's again, what a testament to the systems in our team, because we received that award for the second time. But then what was really special this time is Marcus McIntosh and Courtney Kinser from KCCI came up and did a video feature. And what I loved seeing about them, because when you're in the media, you're constantly going from thing to thing and you don't have much time. And I could tell they were kind of in that mindset. And so I was getting them food boxed up, ready to go. And then they said, we're actually going to stay here and hang out. And that really touched my heart because it showed like, gosh, they're comfortable and they want to hang around. And that's what I celebrate about the fact that we are located in Luther, Iowa, a town of 125 from Des Moines. It's about the same distance as just going from each side of town. You're just heading up north, but you are getting the opportunity to slow down, take some Iowa country highways, crank the tunes. It's a reminder to just slow down and enjoy. So it touched my heart that they felt comfortable to stay around. Marcus still put ketchup on his brisket burn ends.
Oh, come on.
Marcus!
Really?
But yeah, he loves ketchup.
Oh, my word.
And he knows that I'm always going to give him a hard time about it.
We're going to have to get him in here and hold him accountable for these
we will.
actions. Investigative reporting on the journalists. They need it. They need to be held. Okay. So what are your top 3 fair hacks? Like, you've been going since you're a little girl. You're a vendor there now. What are those things that, a newbie's coming into town? They've never gone to the Iowa State Fair before. What are those? We'll just start with number 1. What's one that you're like, you have to do this, or FYI, avoid this? Like, do these things. What are those? What's that big tip?
Oh gosh, my list is really long. I could share funny things. I mean, I love all the animals. You have to go and see the biggest pig and the big bull. My boys and I take a funny family photo in front of the big pig every year. But it's just a lot of folks you get to go see. My go-to though is that pork chop on a stick. From the Iowa
pork chop on a
producers.
stick.
Yes.
Go see the biggest pig and then go see what he produced.
I know. Yes. Terrible. But no, that's one that I always have to hit. And gosh, I know it's not the best choice. There's so much to eat there, but those cheese curds, those always hit the spot. My boys, they're 9 and 11. They came up with a creative combo. They have to get the donuts, the little mini donuts. And so we put cheese curds in the donut.
What? New fair food for 2025.
So it's always kind of trying that. And yeah, I mean, I like seeing, again, I'm affectionate to pigs. I grew up with a funny nickname, Gwenny Pig. So I typically will find pig-inspired stuff. So they have pig races, and those are hilarious. If you had not,
I've never seen the pig races.
Yeah, no, they're kind of up north, off to the side, past Little Hands on the Farm.
Okay,
that's another favorite tradition for families with littles. Little Hands on the Farm is a lot of fun. Your kids go through each little section, and it's educational. They get to pick out a treat after working on the farm.
Oh yeah.
So little fun things like that. There's the giant slide. Obviously, you got to hit that. You Old Mill is one that you can hit once, but it is cool for tradition.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And then I really love just hitting that sky glider when
Me too.
when it is just packed, because like you were saying earlier, we forget how big this whole production is of the fair, and when
massive,
you can get up there at bird's eye view and just look over it, it's quite a feeling.
Now you mentioned you have littles, and what is the parenting tip? Because the fair's massive. You have to park. You have to walk into the fair quite a ways, and it's a big ordeal. So, are there any hey, I'm a parent. I'm going to take my kids to the fair for the first time. Does your parent instinct kick in, and you're like, hold up? Here are some things you need to know. Like, what are those tips for parents surviving the fair? Yeah, no, the tips are definitely keeping your snacks and your treats on hand. But good parking is a great question. I know our team members even kind of struggled with parking last year because it just gets packed. Yeah,
so
it does.
I like the local experience of going to some of the homes that are just there to the west and just parking in the yard. I've had a lot of great luck meeting people, and then your car is taken care of, kind of watched for the day. So that's a good thing for parents, because if you can get close with a spot, the Animal Learning Center, where you get to see the baby animals, that's always a really fun one for the kids. Sometimes it's a little more eye-opening than you might want it to be if you see an active birthing situation.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But they get to see little baby piglets. They can hold them. They see the chicks being hatched. There's so many cool things for the kids to get engaged with. My folks actually they met my dad and stepmom at the fairgrounds, and they got married in that little church. And so that's a fun spot to entertain your kids too, because that's where the chainsaw carving always goes on.
Right.
So that can entertain them for a while. There's also, I heard the Fun Forest, which was, it's a fundraiser. My friend Steph Jessen does that every year. And it raises money for Very Special Arts of Iowa, which is people with different abilities creating art, and it supports them getting out there. Mm-hmm. That's another activity for kids, and I hear that's moving inside to air conditioning. Cultural Center. See, I told you my list is really long. I'll just keep rambling on. But gosh, just go armed with a lot of support, and the water fountains are another solid winner. Yeah, either in front of the grandstand or it's
so
it's
you're
important.
Suggesting kids like bring kind of like something that dries quickly, like kind of like a swimsuit to the fair then?
Definitely.
Yeah,
because they're going to have fun, because if it is a hot day, that's where it can be a little trying for parents, because it's just not fun for anyone, and then the kids are complaining. So if they are in clothes that can dry off easily, there's plenty of water opportunities.
Good tips. Gwen Page, owner of Whatcha Smokin' and fair expert. Whatcha Smokin' Barbecue, of course, in Luther. But if you want to come check it out at the Iowa State Fair, you absolutely should as well. People want to go learn more about Whatcha Smokin', find the contact details, find the menu. What's the website?
Our website is whatchasmokinbbq.com.
Gwen, thank you so much for coming on the Iowa podcast. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Justin.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa podcast.